Guys, it's almost the All-Star break. We're quickly approaching July. Baseball getting into the dog days of summer. Teams are falling apart. It's always tough in June because you really start to feel that slog of the season. I know the Yankees are feeling it right now. But the Yankees skipper Aaron Boone is going to be helming the American League side of the All-Star team, while Dave Roberts with the Dodgers is on the National League side. Joe Torre today was announced to be a part of Boone's staff as an honorary coach. So the American League will have one good coach, at least. But what I kind of want to do today is kind of break down who we think should be the All-Star team. Like who we want on our, outsider ballot. So like if we start off at catcher, right?
It starts off at first base.
First base.
So let's do that.
Are we skipping everything on the catcher?
No, let's start off at first. It's fine. Stupid that catcher is, number 2.
Catcher's not number 2. It's
I'm saying it's number 2. You have pitchers 1, catcher 2, first base.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.
So it's very odd that they're going first, second, third, short, catcher, outfield.
Well, why don't we start with catcher?
That's what I'm saying. Is it makes
let's start with catcher. Let's start with catcher.
We can move it to catcher.
Yeah. Let's do catcher because
we'll start catcher.
We'll do it the right way.
The controversial.
So obviously Cal Raleigh is the leader for catchers, followed by Alejandro Kirk on the American League side. And before we go over to the National League side, do we all kind of agree that Big Dumper should be, behind the dish?
I mean, how can you not?
Yeah. If we were just talking about him in MVP conversations, 2-3 weeks ago on that episode. He's tied with Aaron Judge for the MLB lead in homers at 26. I think as we're recording, he actually just passed him to get to 27 with a grand slam. So now he's at 27 homers, 58 RBIs. It's hard to produce good to great offense from the catcher position, and Cal Riley is giving MVP numbers.
Yeah,
it's just ridiculous what he's doing.
On pace for over 60 home runs. I mean, how can you not, like, any position, like,
yeah, and
that's not automatic.
I do want to give obviously flowers where they're due for an Alejandro Kirk batting over 300 at the catcher position, and even Dylan Dingler. He's been really solid defensively for Detroit, and these are also really solid offensive numbers for a catcher. But it's got to be Cal Raleigh.
It has to. And if there was going to be a backup, probably Kirk. But I think Dingler, nobody would be upset if he got the nod.
Agreed.
Now moving to the National League side, Will Smith is leading it with Carson Kelly in second. Carson Kelly had that hot April and then just took a nosedive off a cliff. But just kind of looking at everybody else, I know the Rockies are putting out there that Hunter Goodman is the best catcher in the National League. Honestly, don't hate it. Like, what has Will Smith done to really high average, but why not give it to the Rocky guy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that from a voting perspective, just when you figure how many Dodgers are we going to get on here. But I also don't like that argument of, well, there's already going to be a bunch of Dodgers, so we should take something away from Will Smith if we wanted to.
I think Hunter Goodman is more deserving based on the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, Goodman's got more home runs, more RBIs, and Smith has a higher average and a higher OPS. So you really could go either way there. And maybe it's a little bit of, I don't want to say bias in me, but a bright spot on a Rockies team versus a cog in the Dodgers machine. I feel more inclined to give it to Goodman of the Rockies for that reason.
I agree.
Well, John, you're already outvoted, but we'll take your.
I go with Goodman. I mean, like, you look at the numbers. I mean, RBIs, home runs, and I mean, like, you look at the other, like, average matters to an extent, OPS matters to an extent, but, like, some would say, RBI is probably one of the more important stats there,
right?
Plus, it's a Rockies player, and I mean, if doesn't each team have to have like one player? Might as well be.
They don't need to have one player start.
No, but I think he's worthy of starting, though. Like,
Yeah, I forgot that the MLB did that, to be honest.
but
So
I think he's
there's
worthy
more
of
reason
starting.
for Goodman for sure.
And I think, those two guys that we're talking about, they're going to be the two. If you add a third, Carson Kelly will be the third. But Goodman deserves it. He is more than deserving. And even if he's not the starter, to be the backup, it just makes
Agreed.
sense.
Mm.
Now we'll go, I guess, to first base because they want to be weird about it. Don't even know their own positional numbers.
I feel like we do National League first because I feel like Pete Alonso is just a hammer. Right.
So
I mean,
Freddie,
he's not even in first.
Oh, Freddie,
That's because Dodger popularity right there.
I mean,
That's it. Like,
I wrote out my who I would want, and Pete Alonso is the guy I had as my starter.
Yeah, Pete is also my starter. Before I click it and get rid of everybody, though, Freeman, obviously a shout. Josh Naylor, I think he's a shout here too. Not as a starter, but if we'll talk about a Diamondback at second base, but if for some reason something happened to Ketel Marte, Naylor as a backup, I wouldn't hate.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Pete Alonso's having an MVP-esque season.
Yeah, it's Alonso, and it'll be Alonso and Freeman, and I'm sure Freeman will beat him out for that starting spot.
Which
purely
is
because he's a Dodger.
ridiculous. At a certain point, Major League Baseball should step in and have some level of the writers weighing the voters, somebody they can rely on.
But this takes me back to when the Blue Jays were, good a few
Mhm.
years ago, where it was almost their whole roster starting, and they didn't win a playoff series that year.
So what
I'm
could happen?
surprised that's not happening with the
It
Dodgers.
used to be that way, but with teams that won the World Series. So
Right.
the year following a World Series win, the All-Star team would just be loaded up with people from that team as long as that team was still good come the following All-Star year. Now it's just whoever has the most popular fans.
Dodgers
Yeah.
are that team right now.
But even the Blue Jays are still. Vladdy
Yeah.
is second here.
Now, Goldie leading the pack, Vladdy at second. I also want to shout out Jonathan Aranda.
Yeah.
Having a great season. I'm always going to lean towards my guy in Goldie. But
yeah, I would lead towards Aranda here personally. And I think Goldschmidt should get a bench spot. And I think if there's a lefty pitcher that comes into the game, Aaron Boone should pinch hit him.
But it's hard to look at Vladdy, Goldie, and Aranda and say, one of these guys shouldn't be an all-star.
Yeah, it's tough.
And I think since there's still time before the All-Star game, Goldie's still hitting a skid. He could play his way out of being on the team.
It's possible.
I also want to mention Vinny Pasquantino that's cut off there because he has some. He's not doing too bad either.
Yeah, the pass ball is great.
I think he could have a really solid rest of June here and maybe catch up. I just think his average is really going to hold him back when it comes to the three guys he's looking to compete with.
Less than 10 points separate him and Vladdy.
Yeah, that's fair. But right now, for me, Vladdy's the third place guy. I would go Aranda, Goldschmidt, then Vladdy. So Vladdy's not even making the cut right now.
So let's go Aranda, because I agree.
John, you agree, Aranda, or
yeah, I like him. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I would.
And I mean, how many guys are the Rays going to get as well?
Right. And just kind of looking overall at this ballot, this feels like the most wide open an all-star ballot has been in years.
Yeah, it's very wide open.
We had discussions at catcher, both sides at first base, and there'll be discussions for other positions where it just hasn't been that way.
We had a discussion at first base for the NL, but I think Pete Alonso, realistically, if it wasn't fan voting and it was just respectable writers voting for this, would be a shoo-in.
You're right.
I think the only reason Freeman's in there is because he's got the blue Dodger hat on his head.
But he's also not having a terrible year either.
No, I know.
So it makes it easier.
But he's not. He would be the second place option for sure. I just think
Yeah.
he would be a clear second where things stand.
So now let's go to second base. And this one's on the American League side tough because, Gleyber Torres is leading it. Doesn't have great numbers. Good numbers, not great. Jackson Holiday with also really poor numbers. Well, not poor, but poor for an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need a second baseman on the American League All-Star team?
I can't believe I'm going to say it, but I think Gleyber Torres is the best second baseman in the AL this year.
It's just none of this is inspiring.
Yeah, it's not great. I think you have to go Gleyber. You could certainly make a case for Willie Castro, I think.
That's what I'm leaning towards right now.
You could make a case for Sosa even. I mean,
Yeah.
if the White Sox got to have somebody like his
OPS.
But that's because he can't bat anybody in. Like I agree. Like my vote will be for Gleyber Torres, but when you're thinking about each team has to have a guy, is there going to be another guy for the White Sox? Like that we would just even consider?
But would he be like starter? Is he like
maybe they bring him as the bench second baseman. My vote is for Gleyber. Yeah. Are you going Willie Castro, Corey?
I'm gonna go Willie Castro.
All right. John, if you go Jackson Holiday, we're gonna be in a pickle here. So please pick one of Castro or Torres.
Honestly, I'm like looking at Brandon Lowe.
Out of left field.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You got the 14 home runs, 39 RBIs, 775 OPS.
It's another good option.
My thing is we just picked the Ray
average
for first base, so I don't think the Rays are getting two guys. I don't think they're getting the right infield.
Right.
That would be my one argument against Lau.
I'm just doing like who I like personally. I'm not
yeah. No, I understand. I just
you can also
that's the reason I won't be swayed to it.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for average, Jazz Chisholm would be in this conversation too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he also missed some time.
He missed some time, but he's back now. So I think
if he was back, I bet his home run RBI numbers look very similar to Lau.
So, John, who is it? Castro or Gleyber?
Man.
Do we want to flip a coin for it at this point?
Should we call Ben up?
I think Ben is sleeping.
I could
Man. It's tough. It's tough.
We'll see. I'll get Google to flip a coin here.
Get Google.
Heads is Castro, tails is Gleyber.
Tails.
Gleyber.
I can live with that.
I just wanted to show that make sure that everybody sees.
I believe.
I can live with that.
But like this is a really bad grouping of people.
Yeah. This will be the 9-hole hitter. NL side. Ketel Marte. That's my vote. I think Ketel Marte is one of the more underrated players in all of baseball. I think if he wore a Braves, Mets, Phillies, Dodgers hat, even Cardinals, we would talk about him consistently as a top 10 player in the sport. But he's a Diamondback, and with the Corbin Burns injury, probably won't be in the playoffs, but I think he's the clear starter here.
He's also been like consistently good for a while now.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Nico Horner's having a great year. The 0 homers and the sub-7 OPS is a killer. Tommy Edman is in second because he wears a Dodgers hat.
I like Brendan Donovan too, though, as an all-star, but he's more of a utility guy.
Yeah, he's certainly a guy I think they could bring off the bench, but I just nobody here, even Bryce Terang is fine, but nobody here is really competing with Marte for me.
I with you 1,000%. It's just one of the few guys. It's his spot.
I think Miguel Andujar for third base.
Yeah, Miguel Andujar for third base.
That's the former Yankee.
I mean, I think he's having a decent year,
Oh
but I mean,
yeah. No, I was just making a joke
I
there. I think there's probably an obvious AL choice. We could talk about if for some reason J-Ram were to get hurt, where our vote would go.
I mean, who would our number 2 be if we're taking J-Ram out of the equation, even though J-Ram is the guy? Would it be, Andujar? Would it be Michael Garcia? Alex
Um,
Bregman, who's hurt?
I, the tough part is like when voting finishes, Bregman's gonna be trailing. I kind of like Isaac Paredes with the 15 homers, the over 8 OPS. The batting average isn't quite there, but I think that's where my second place vote lean would be.
I would be at Michael Garcia.
I'm with Corey on this one. With for second, Michael Garcia.
Yeah. I just saw again, Yankee bias. Don't like the way he tags. But
No.
J-Ram it is.
J-Ram is the obvious choice.
I feel like he's another player that we would probably talk about more if he was on like the Braves or the Mets or the Yankees.
If he was on a big team, he'd be talked
Yeah.
about as a top 5. I mean, he already is talked about in top 5 conversations, but he'd be more heavily in those conversations.
But then on the flip side to the National League, Machado's having a resurgence year. He's kind of been looked at as one of those guys whose, age is catching up to. But this year he's really bouncing back and he's running away with it for the National League. There's not really anybody else.
Yeah, I think we have 2 clear-cut great options at third base. Alec Boehm has really picked it up after a slower start. He's batting .285, so maybe he gets a backup spot potentially. But other than that, Austin Riley, it's fine. Max Muncy, again, wears a Dodgers hat, so he's got second here. But, I think I'd lean Eugenio Suarez potentially as the backup just because of the home run and RBI numbers. The guy's been a monster power-wise this year. But Machado's just having an MVP-esque year.
I think it will be Suarez just because of that home run number, and I think
you think they'll go Suarez over Machado?
No. Machado is a starter, but Suarez is a backup.
Is the backup.
Because I think since fans don't vote on the backups, the league and the coaches do. I think they're going to reward a guy like that.
I believe so too.
Yeah,
especially because he had that historic 4 home run game as well this year. So, but Machado's the all-star choice for us.
Now we go to short. The American League side, to me, there's only 2 guys that's even in the conversation. And I'm going to leave
Wilson and Anthony Volpe.
That's right. But I think the rookie's got to get it. He's come out of nowhere, dominating.
He's batting .362, has over a 900 OPS. Bobby Witt will be on this roster as a backup, but I am fully with you that it's got to be Jacob Wilson.
I mean, I want to go Bobby Witt. I love Bobby Witt.
Jeremy Pena, I think, deserves to be in the conversation. I mean, if you compare his numbers to Witt's right here, from a statistical standpoint, I would say Pena's having the better season. Obviously, with Witt, you get a better base runner and better defense, and that's not listed in numbers here. But I wouldn't be so quick to just dismiss Jeremy Pena from conversations.
True. Very true.
But I still 100% would go Jacob Wilson with this batting average.
Yeah, no, Jacob Wilson with the batting average showing some pop, the OPS over 900. And it's nice to get an A in there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The NL side is where I wish we had been on. Because for me, the debate is Lindor and Trey Turner. In second is Mookie Betts. Again, great player. Wears a Dodger hat, so he's up there. Ellie's having a better year than Betts. But for me, it's Lindor and Trey Turner.
Personally. Not IKF?
No, not IKF.
To me, it's Lindor and then the rest. I think Lindor is finally going to be an all-star as a Met for the first time in his career.
I mean, you think it's like lopsided? Because
I
Trey's got a significantly better
mean-
batting average.
He
They're pretty
does.
close in RBIs, and Trey's got a better OPS.
I know, but I feel like one with the eye test, because Lindor also, he's up there with Trey Turner in the defense. I think he's better defensively than Turner. I think base running
Turner's a
wise,
better base runner, though.
base runner, but Lindor is no slouch. I just think
Yeah.
Lindor passes the eye test.
I'll say this:
It
Trey
feel
Turner's
better.
been getting hot over the last week in that
I think
leadoff
Trey
spot.
Turner, isn't he leading like either shortstops and hits or like league in hits or something?
No,
He's
Judge
getting
still
hot.
It might be amongst shortstops then he's leading in hits.
He's getting very hot, Trey Turner, right now. I wouldn't be surprised if when we revisit this in July, Trey Turner's got a lot more votes.
I wouldn't doubt it, but I feel those two are definitely all-star worthy at the least.
Do you think Ellie, with the RBIs and the home runs, towering both guys, a higher OPS, do you think we should be showing him some love here?
Oh, absolutely should be showing him some love. I just don't think he's, a better, person for this spot than either of those guys. I feel like he's a distant third, but that's still no slouch. And we can still even discuss other players,
Yeah, I mean,
Almost another
Perdomo,
solid player.
yeah, for sure. Betts, we talked about him a little bit. I think he's having just the injury really stunted some of his numbers. John, are you Trey Turner over Lindor,
Oh,
or are you
absolutely.
Lindor?
I'm Trey Turner.
See, I'm also Trey Turner at this time. So our
just-
vote, because Ben isn't here.
How am I the one stuck defending?
I mean,
I'm-
you gotta give it to Lindor though. Like he's actually finally doing like
Yeah,
No.
like he's
Yeah, but
actually
we
finally
gave it to
having
Trey,
a
though.
really good season.
You
I
gave
mean,
it to
we could
Trey.
we
But
could switch it if you want to switch it, John. You switch.
I know.
your
I'm
vote
just
to
I'm
Lindor.
just I'm just giving I'm just
Stick
giving it
with
to
your guy.
Lindor for finally
I'll
having.
also say this: we
great
have a
season.
Met at first base. We don't have a Philly here, and if it's not Trey, is it going to be Wheeler later? Sanchez later, maybe, but we've got a Met on here.
Outfield
And I
time.
think Alonso is definitely more deserving than Lindor.
I wouldn't even go that far. I think they're both just very
I
deserving.
think Alonso is more.
I would agree with John.
Let's go to the
Alonso's been great from the start.
outfield National League side of things. I think if we want to rank our outfielders 1, 2, 3 instead of just picking 3, the
Okay.
most deserving outfielder, in my opinion, has to be PCR, right?
Has to.
PCA.
PCA. Pete Crow Armstrong. That's where the R comes in, the Armstrong.
Yep.
He's just, the prize of the
So we
hobby.
all agree. So I'm gonna click him.
Yeah.
Because he's definitely making it for us.
Yes. And then do we follow up with his teammate, Kyle Tucker?
I believe so. They are my 1 and 2.
And I think that third spot is where it gets a little dicey. Because third, on the list is Teoscar Hernandez, and I don't think it should be him. I think that's just Dodger bias.
I agree. The way Acuna has been playing since he's come back from injury, he's definitely one of the 3 best outfielders in the NL, but I don't think he's played enough to give it to him.
His RBIs are just kind of low.
Well, yeah, because he hasn't played enough, obviously.
But the average is
he's batting
He's very-
400 with 7 homers since he's come in. So the guy is just absolutely smacking the piss out of the ball. And if seriously, if we get to July and he's up to call it, 12 homers and 30 RBIs, and he's still batting 350 plus, I would have no problem giving him a vote. But at this point, I can't. To me, the final vote is between Tatis and James Wood, and I would lean James Wood here.
Do we want to talk a little Corbin Carroll at all? feel like he's been underrated this year, even though the stats aren't popping off the page. He's been consistent and he's been getting better. He's somebody
I think it's just that average.
And he's a great fielder.
But
so if
great
what you do in the field matters.
But the 20 home runs, what is that, a 908 OPS?
Yeah.
Yeah, 908, 2044, 908. When we look at Wood, we're at 1851, 922.
Yeah, I mean, Wood on a Nationals team has been killing it.
Yeah, and if we go to a tiebreaker, we do already have a Diamondback. So we could go a national to try and be more accurate.
John, is there anybody that kind of stands out to you? Any Philly outfielder you think's deserving?
I would love to go with Nick Castellanos.
Would you like Juan Soto out there?
He's fourth in the voting, and I don't think
Andy Pages has actually had a solid year. He should be the Dodger that's getting votes, not Teoscar Hernandez.
You don't want to give it to Michael Conforto?
No, definitely not Conforto. I'd sooner vote for Alex Verdugo. Castellanos, 278, 7 homers, 36 ribbies, 746 OPS. So Carroll and Wood feels like a good debate. If you want to make that choice, John.
I like Wood, though. I do like Wood. James Wood. He's been having a great year.
Dub.
Let's go James Wood.
All right. So to the AL side we head.
And let's just get the easy one out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we could glaze his season, but I'm sure, you guys that are loyal subs have seen enough of it. If not, he is the best baseball player alive today, the best righty hitter of all time. We are in June, and he has a 1.209 OPS, and he's on pace for 60 homers, 120 RBIs plus, and he's batting .372.
That average fell 20 points, 25 points in the last 10 days.
Yeah, and he's still batting well way over 300.
I think he's going to win the Triple Crown. We'll see what Cal Raleigh does, but I think Judge is going to win the Triple Crown.
I'm more worried about the average right now because he's been in a tailspin. But outfield 2, in my opinion, is Riley Green.
I thought he was up higher. I guess he's lower.
If we look at his stats,
he's just above Aaron Judge.
I missed him.
Above him on the list, but below him in our hearts.
Yeah.
I see. No votes for Riley Green. That's that. I was looking for the placement markers.
Well, what happens is when you click, if you change your vote from Judge off, it'll show that Riley Green's the second. So if you hit
okay,
I don't know why it does that. That's really weird. But
because
I don't know why.
Take it away too.
So why don't we take off Judge just so we can see?
Because we know Judge is already there.
Yeah, Riley Green obviously having a great season. 15 homers, 51 RBIs, 835. We do have a Tiger and Gleyber Torres here, but they do have the best record in the AL. So getting 2 All-Stars, and you don't want to just snub Riley Green. And when you look at the rest of this outfield, Javi Baez being listed as an outfielder is just a little odd to me. He just kind of plays all around at this point. I know he was at second today, so Stephen Kwan is an interesting for our third choice as well.
Kwan, I was thinking
Smith. I can't believe Mike Trout has these votes.
I think that's just
name value,
name recognition.
I think Bellinger needs to be in that conversation along with Stephen Kwan, and
I think the average is really going to hold him back.
Yeah, but the Yankees should get that World Series bump.
Yeah, I mean the Yankees hat will get you the votes. So, so are we in agreement on Judge and Green, and then debating?
Yeah.
So then we're debating Kwan. We're debating Kwan, Josh Smith, and Cody Bellinger for the final spot. So
Correct.
Smith is 288, 7 homers, 220 RBIs, and an 800 OPS. Go over to Quan, 299, 623, 781.
You can organize them by OPS too if you want, so you can see, or RBI if that's easier than.
What about Byron Buxton?
Can we believe he'll be healthy by the All-Star break?
I mean,
We can throw Buxton in there as well for conversation.
just for conversation wise, at least.
I mean, 273, 12, 42, 848. I mean, every number statistically is better than Bellinger.
But not the hat.
Did the Twins have anyone?
They don't. I mean, so Buxton's a shout for sure.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. Good defense. I mean, today, the day we're recording on Tuesday, he both robbed and hit a home run in back-to-back innings.
Look at that.
So I wouldn't mind going Buxton here, especially when we do consider some of the voting.
But then, I feel like we're just overlooking Stephen Kwan, who's just been overlooked his whole career now.
I mean, Kwan's got the better average, but everywhere else, Buxton has got him.
I mean, Kwan's, I think, a better defender. Strike out.
We're looking at close to double the RBIs for Buxton. 42 to 23.
Remember when we thought Trent Grisham could have been an All-Star? That was a fun April.
Yeah, I mean, Trent Grisham, who you even just counted out, higher OPS, more RBIs, and double the home runs of Stephen Kwan. So, I think you just made a case for Buxton by bringing up Trent Grisham.
If you just take away Stephen Kwan's average, like, what does he really have?
Good defense.
Right. But then, going back to Josh Smith.
Yeah, I think Smith and Buxton is the more interesting conversation. I think I lean Buxton. I think John has swayed me.
Is Buxton your vote, John?
I do like Buxton. I mean, I wouldn't have brought him up if I didn't.
All right, so that's 2 votes Buxton. Out of left field.
That's 2 out of left field.
I say for NLDH, we go Rafi Devers. Look at this production he's put up all year.
Over Shohei.
More RBIs than Shohei. Shohei's not knocking anybody in.
43
RBIs. To be the first Giant with over 30 home runs this season.
So Shohei, we're going for the NLDH.
If it wasn't Shohei, who would it be? And Devers doesn't count.
I mean, it would be Devers if Devers counted. Yeah. Just to clarify.
But Devers wasn't. I mean, Ivan Herrera.
Yeah, so I was gonna say. So it sounds like we're having a conversation between Kyle Schwarber and Ivan Herrera at that point, and 2 very different players in terms of what we're looking at numbers wise. Because Herrera a 315 average to Schwarber's 244, but Schwarber's got 22 homers and 53 RBIs to Herrera's 8 and 36, but a 923 OPS to 912. So you could see, like, when you get down to some of the nitty gritty stats, like, they are close.
I mean, 100-point difference in OPS is pretty large, especially when you're this high.
Yeah, I would lean Herrera again, because especially because we're talking about a backup spot, we have a Philly already in.
Absolutely.
And they're going to consider that for backup spots.
Yeah.
Because that's where we're considering, especially there. So Ohtani and then Herrera.
Would it be Herrera and Devers, though? Like, you just count, I don't think Devers.
I don't think Devers is allowed to qualify for the NL. I'm so confused on this, if I'm being completely honest, because I don't know why they have him listed when he's going to have played like 20 games when voting closes at like most.
I feel like he should get an honorary nod as an American League player.
I mean, if we had put him on this side, he would have been my vote.
Yeah.
So it's just a very odd thing because he won't be my vote in the NL over Ohtani.
He won't. And I think he should be the top vote getter in the American League. I think that would be fair. And then he just can't play and you give it to somebody else. He deserves to be recognized as an all-star this year, and he won't be.
Yeah, unless
So
they
is he
just give
just
him the
done?
backup spot.
Then you take it away from somebody else who
I know. It
deserves
just-
it.
Does he just
Major
play
League
on the
Baseball.
American League
You figure
All-Star?
something out. I don't think if I was the Giants, I'd let him, because the All-Star game in baseball still means something.
Yeah.
Because the winner of that gets home field advantage.
Do they? I thought they changed that.
Did they
It's
change
impossible.
that?
They changed
I
it
think like
It's-
was
it
it
means
last year or
nothing.
2 years ago?
It's meaningless
that.
now.
I hate that.
I don't
Well,
like
then
that.
let him play
yeah.
for the AL.
Or he doesn't get to play. He just gets recognized because that means something at the end of his career.
But why not play?
He's not in the American League. He can't represent the team he doesn't play for.
Maybe
He's for
put that
Well,
San
they're not
Francisco.
playing. They're just playing for fun.
Yeah.
I'd let him play. I'd let him play on the AL side. Based on and you know what? Stop the counter right here. If any of these guys can beat these numbers by the All-Star break, let them have it. Stop Rafi's counter right here and see if those guys could beat him, because this is AL All-Star. All of this is AL production.
Fair.
So if they can beat it, I'll let them pass. But I don't believe that they'll be able to.
So now that we have Ohtani on the American League side, I feel like it's between maybe three. I can name 4 names that I think are in a discussion.
I mean, the choices kind of suck without Devers, if I'm being honest.
Yandy
Also,
Diaz.
can we talk about the fall from grace for Yordan Alvarez while we're here for a moment?
Isn't it awesome?
Like, what happened?
He stopped hearing a trash can get banged.
I guess. I just
don't get it.
We're looking at O'Hearn. We're
O'Hearn,
looking Polanco,
Rice, and Yandy
Rooker.
Diaz.
I think Rooker
Rooker, yeah,
in the conversation.
I mean, I feel like Rice is the weakest link out of all this, and he's the number 2 vote getter.
Yeah, I think that's the hat.
Yankee.
The hat and the expected stats have him hitting like 290.
I kind of lean Rooker, but then we'd have 2 A's, and that's not something I expected. I mean, O'Hearn's not a bad shout either.
And we don't have an Oriole yet.
We don't need an Oriole.
John's Orioles.
I'm very biased here.
John's Orioles.
They're my backup team if the Phillies don't work out.
The Orioles aren't working out right now.
I know.
I mean, the Orioles are like 1 game, 2 games better than the A's. So it's not like there's a big difference between getting an A or an Oriole in there.
You know who fell off a lot? Santander. It's like he got.
I wonder if anybody could have ever predicted that. Too bad nobody on this show saw that coming.
Nobody saw Santander falling off a cliff. Not a single person.
Not one. So are we going O'Hearn for Baltimore representation?
Yeah, I
go O'Hearn or Rooker.
I think O'Hearn's the best out of a bad group.
Well,
honestly,
here's what we got.
Should have been Devers.
Should be Devers. I still don't think O'Hearn will have better numbers than Devers. But this is what we got. I don't know if you want to run it down, Corey. You want me to run it down?
So just to recap, right? Aranda, Torres, Ramirez, Wilson, Buxton, Green, Judge, Raleigh, and O'Hearn on the American League side, taking on Alonso, Marte, Machado, Turner, PCA, Tucker, Wood, Goodman, and Ohtani on the National League side. Guys, who would your American and National League starting pitchers be? I feel like they're 2 very choices.
I'd go Skubal.
For sure.
And then that puts the Tigers at 3 starters. So, like, good for them.
Best team in baseball, I think, right now, right?
I think record-wise.
I believe so.
Yeah, by like 2 games.
Is everybody else kind of in agreement there that they would go Scooble?
I mean, Scooble, Crochet, and Freed are the only ones I think that would be in the conversation, and I think
And I like
Scooble
Scooble.
takes a
Yeah.
big leap over the
Yeah.
other two.
And then I'd go Skeens.
I was
I-
gonna say Skeens
You
for
have to go Skeens.
yeah.
So there's Pittsburgh's representation.
Unless we decide to give Otani a 1-inning rehab start at the All-Star game because his manager is.
Could you? I feel
I
Can
that sounds like
Ohtani-
something the Dodgers would do.
Does
can see him
Ohtani need
closing
to
the game.
Does he actually need to be voted in as a pitcher, or have a pitcher's roster spot, or can he just use him as a pitcher? Like I feel like
That's
that.
a good question. I feel
I think it would be you're allowed to, but I think it would be taboo because I think there's
It'll be
too
frowned
many
upon.
pitchers that'll be on the roster that
Yeah.
I think like Dave Roberts' like ability to be the manager for the All-Star game may be revoked by Rob Manfred.
I don't think Manfred would do anything that smart.
So we'd have 3 starters for the Tigers, 2 for the Cubs, and then everybody else is sitting at 1 that's up here. Does that
We're
mean
pretty
we're looking at a
fair.
Tigers Cubs World Series?
Maybe very disappointing that the Yankees only get Judge.
Yeah, I mean, there's time for Freed, I suppose. I think like it's not like a foregone conclusion that it's Scooble. I guess just in my opinion, Ty goes to the best player.
I think it's by far the best player. But
yeah,
then again-
that's what I mean. Like
But then
Ty goes
again,
to
you
the
have-
best player, not the better season when the seasons are all close.
Right. And then, Boone's also the manager, so that tilts towards Freed's favor, I would assume.
Yeah, I think Freed will certainly be the second guy out.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you look at, let's take the Phillies, for example. What other Phillies, John, do you think are worthy of an all-star spot?
That are worthy that can possibly get one. Boehm, and then probably Wheeler, and then maybe Sanchez.
What about
Because-
Romano?
I don't. He shouldn't even be on the Phillies. And I could say maybe possibly you can make an argument maybe for maybe Castellanos, maybe Schwarber, but like realistically, probably just like Boehm, Wheeler, and Sanchez.
I like Sanchez. I think he's having a really solid year.
Because then if you go to the Yankee side, obviously you have Goldschmidt, Bellinger, Rice that were in the conversations.
Yep.
But then pitcher-wise, I think Rodon and Freed and Luke Weaver should all be,
Yeah, I hope Weaver gets back in time to really enter those conversations.
I think Goldschmidt has a really high chance of being on the team too.
I agree.
Yeah. But
I agree, especially with his age. I think they could maybe give him the old guy. Hey, old guy having a great season.
Yeah.
Do you think real quick, John, as a relief pitcher, Kirkring could get it?
I can see because he has been doing well. I think he just picked up his.
He's at like a
first MLB
2.5
save.
ERA.
Yeah,
So
he just picked up his first MLB save. I think against that one. I think I think the Marlins was it? I guess the Marlins the other day,
yeah.
or it was the Blue Jays. One of I forget.
But
Everything's-
so I could see him getting in because he's been the only excellent piece in the bullpen, really, really consistently.
Yeah, when you take away Alvarado, it's
Well,
for him.
Something tells me he's not making the All-Star
Yeah.
game.